Happy Monday. We're here with Coffee Chat with Christina and Lindsay, and we're just commenting. No, I didn't do anything fancy with my hair, guys. This is like 3 days of not brushed in a ponytail and was just like, screw it, I'm taking it down.
I know, I logged in this morning. I'm like, you curled your hair?
I'm like, I don't even own a curling iron. Of course I didn't curl my hair. I'm like, what? Anyways, welcome. We are excited to have another Monday coffee chat with you guys. And we are coming to you about something that's, I think, pretty important and pretty serious. Good morning. Because, we've been talking a lot just in general. Christina and I have some things going on with our programs, and like we're always trying to figure out the best way to support you guys. And one of the things that we have been getting back to, like we talked about, I think 2 weeks ago, was getting back to the basics, right? Understanding from a nutrition point of view. Aw, thanks. What do you need to do? How do I set my fitness pal up? Like things that you might have done years and years ago. And that's really coming to a place right now where, especially where the world's in kind of an unknown place. But the other thing that we found, and this was a really big piece when I first got into life coaching back in 2012, after having my nutrition and my personal training for so long, is that until we really kind of get down to the relationship that we have with food and with exercise, and we see it all the time in our groups, is it's not that they don't know what to do, right? Most people have an idea of what that looks like, but it's how to actually get there, and how to get there and not restart and do it again and have another go. And I mean, Christina, this is big in the bariatric world in general, because I think most people get to surgery after going through so many diets and roller coasters and I'm never going to make it. And I mean, that's big, right?
And so many of us get to bariatric surgery and have this horrible relationship with food. We hate food is basically what it boils down to. We love it, but we also hate it because it has made us feel awful so many times. It's almost like we're in like an abusive relationship with food where, it's mean to you and it's awful to you, but then at the same time it comforts you and coddles you and makes it like, it's this horrible, horrible thing. And so we then go through bariatric surgery, and unfortunately, part of it is resources, part of it is just the world that we live in, but there isn't a lot of work done in terms of the transformation, the bariatric surgery, all of that around, reforming your relationship with food and improving that relationship and realizing that it doesn't have to be like that, and that, your next relationship can be better, you can be healthier. So, we talk about that, with people that come out of unhealthy relationships. And it's the same thing when you've come out of an unhealthy relationship with food, or if you're currently living in an unhealthy relationship with food, that we can improve on that and make it better, but there aren't a lot of resources around that.
Yeah, and I think, your analogy, Christina, about the relationship is such a valid one, because even if you've never been in like a proper abusive relationship, if you were in any relationship where you basically were like, oh, I hate you, oh my gosh, I need you so much, no, but I don't want you, but when you're here, I just want you so badly, like it would literally go crazy. I mean, you would never have a healthy relationship with a person in that way, whether it was, abusive or not, it just wouldn't happen. So when we get to our relationship with our food or our exercise or our journey as a whole, the way we treat it, it's just, there's no wonder we struggle with all of the things that go along with it. And again, we see so many times, I know what to do, I just don't know how to get there. I do it for 2 days and then I quit. Oh, it's so hard and I just don't want to do it. I'm so tired and sick of tired of listening and thinking about food all the time, and all of those things that go along with the relationship of food. So even though you can learn all about the macros and all of the information about how to balance them and what's going on, which of course Christina teaches extremely well, we won't get to the end of that next relationship until we focus on some of the relationship issues that we have with our food, which I think is a super important one.
Yeah, it's totally like it's one of the most important things, because like you said, you're not going to ever really improve that relationship if you don't focus on what happened in the past and kind of clean up some of that and then move forward in a healthier way. And when you feel those unhealthy habits creeping back in, and it's not just an unhealthy habit like you go to the pantry and you grab a bag of chips, that's not what we're talking about. It's when you start the spiral in your mind of, why do I'm stressed out and I feel like I need to eat. And oh my God, I hate that I need to eat. And oh, I don't want to even put that in. I've way overeaten and I feel terrible. And why even bother? And there's so many of these things that go on in your brain. So focusing on acknowledging those, but taking the power away from them as well, and taking your power back over food, to allow yourself to heal that relationship with food. It is one of the pieces that I did a lot of work around when I first had surgery. And I feel like now I can live like a normal, healthy person in terms of my relationship with food, that I don't feel like food controls me. I don't feel like I'm a lot better with, running to food for stress and all of those kind of things. It's still not, I'm not going to say it's a perfect relationship, but sometimes I still catch myself with those negative thoughts and those negative patterns. But a lot of the time I can move through them a lot easier. So those are some of the pieces to look at and really assess your relationship with food. That, do you have a healthy relationship with food? And I'm going to guesstimate that about 95% of you can probably say no. I don't. Either I'm too extreme on this side or I'm too extreme on this side. But it's really tough to develop that healthy relationship.
Yeah, and I think too, one of the things we forget to think about when it comes to food is that it is a relationship. It is something. So, you hear about communication and all these great things, but, marriage as a whole, or relationships as a whole, they're bloody hard, right? They're not perfect. You're pushing, you're pulling, you're compromising, you're taking, you're giving. And that's the same with any relationship, right? Relationship with a family member, a child, a spouse, whatever. But I want you to think about this. So food as a whole, it started when it was a necessity, right? We were a baby, we needed food. Absolute necessity, nothing else mattered. But let's be honest, in the time that you are a baby to now, it's been intertwined with emotions, ideas, memories, rituals, right? I always go to that restaurant and I can't not have the bread. Or, when I have that sad feeling, I gotta get a good hot chocolate with a, whatever. And so all of these things have been intertwined into our relationship, which again is not a bad thing. But what happens more often than not is that we don't actually nurture the relationship. We keep that negative, we keep that thoughts and feelings and behaviors and our beliefs about food, and we don't take it to that next level. And it's a very good question that Christina asked, and it's one that I have written here, is ask yourself honestly, do you have a positive relationship with food? And I can put my hand up and say, absolutely not for me. I do not. I haven't had bariatric surgery, you guys know that, but I do not. I'm constantly like, oh, what now? What can I do next? How do I do this? What am I going to do that? Oh, damn it, did I just eat that chocolate bar? Like, I have these things going on all the time, and it is exhausting. Can you imagine having to live and breathe in a relationship with a person like that all the time? It is exhausting. So we are made up of little tiny choices every single second of every single day, right? We decide when to wake up. We decide if we have water. We decide what coffee. Do I pull my hair down? Did I brush my hair today, right? Like, these are all the decisions that we make. And the thing is that daily decisions are what shape us. And so again, with our relationship, it comes to the point where it's like it's an all or nothing relationship. Well, that's not the case in any relationship. If it was like all about me only, my relationship wouldn't be very good, right? Because that sucks, right? So it comes down to balance. You hear about balance and moderation and all of that stuff, but when you think about balance, you have to think about pleasure and hunger, right? So if I'm really hungry, do I eat? But that food really makes me feel happy, so that's pleasure. So that's balance too. And so we want you guys to really think about your relationship with food, and I find it really interesting, right? Santa's just saying, come on. Yeah. So actually, Donna showered today before. Yes, I love it. It doesn't happen very often. But this is the thing, and it's interesting. So in your bariatric transformation program, we have challenges each week. And this week, Christina and I are doing a relationship with your food challenge from that. And it's basically asking people just before they start eating and after they finish eating, what feelings do they come up with, right? And again, I just did a quick look, just in this morning, because that's when we started. It's like, angry, hangry. That's what you have when you first started, which is again a really hard place.
There was one that had like a feeling of emptiness before, but not like a physical emptiness, but like.
Yeah. And then after, how did you feel? Sometimes it's satisfied, right? You had a really good food. It was feeling satisfied. I'm not too hungry. But then there's a lot of guilt, sadness, anger, right? Like, why did I eat that? I'm such an idiot, right? Like, those are the things that we're talking about when it comes to, that relationship with food. So that's important.
I was looking for this little like cognitive triangle. I was on my phone just looking for it to make it clear. But so we were talking about your thoughts and your relationship with food and all of those pieces. So there's basically three pieces to this. There's your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors is basically, and if you go through those three, so you don't have a lot of control over your feelings, really. You have some control over your thoughts, you have a lot of control over your behavior, but your feelings are the one piece that you feel what you feel. And so if you can work on controlling the thoughts, or correcting the thoughts is probably a better way to put it, that because the thoughts are going to pop into your head, they're sort of on autopilot at this point, because as Lindsay said, you've developed these thoughts all through growing up and learning things, and somebody saying, oh, Lindsay, do you really need to eat that? Or, oh, Christina, you're not feeling good. Here, have some ice cream, or, whatever, that our thoughts have all been developed over time from a variety of reasons and stuff. So you can start by, sort of being aware of those thoughts is the first piece. And then the next piece is to take those thoughts and think about the feelings that those thoughts are creating. So when I tell myself that I'm stressed, and so my thought is, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. Overwhelm is a feeling that I tend to hang in a little bit sometimes. And it is one of the things that I used to autopilot to junk food. And so now when I have the feeling of overwhelm, or the thought that I'm overwhelmed, instead of turning to a pint of ice cream, which was my autopilot for a long time, I've had to then take my thought of overwhelm and put it into a feeling of, I'm feeling really tired. I'm feeling like I have so much to do. I'm feeling really stressed. I'm feeling whatever. And then put it into an action or a behavior. So instead of going to ice cream, because let's be honest, did ice cream really help my overwhelm at all? No, I was still just as overwhelmed, but with 1,000 extra calories. So instead of doing that, I now make lists, and that's a really big thing. So I press pause on my overwhelm because my feeling can't really change, that it is what it is. But if I go ahead and change the behavior that results in it. So I find it really helpful to press a pause button when you have those thoughts and those feelings and your autopilot takes you to food. So instead of just going to food, you can put signs on your fridge, you can put signs in your pantry, you can make lists, you can journal is a really helpful thing, which like Lindsay said, that's sort of the challenge that we're trying to do this week, is just talking about those feelings. Another one that I find really helpful is if you can put a pause button of like, listen to a song. So every single time, if you're like musically inclined, every single time that you feel, that you're gonna run to the fridge, because you're feeling, especially in this time right now, you're feeling really stressed. So you feel like you're going to go to the fridge. Well, before you go to the fridge and open it and get a snack, listen to whatever song you choose, happy, like that song, or listen to, just something that kind of like, puts you in a little bit more positive frame of mind. And you have to listen to the song from start to finish. It doesn't matter if after the end of the song, you still go to the fridge and grab that same snack. It's the pause button. And I will tell you, I don't know, again, the percentage of it, but a good solid % of the time, you won't continue into the behavior after that because you've paused yourself for long enough to stop the autopilot of thought, feeling, action. And over time, what happens is your thought and your feeling, maybe they stay the same, maybe they change a little bit, whatever, but your action changes because you're no longer just autopiloting and going to the same spot every single time.
Yeah, and that's really, really important because it's all about changing that kind of relationship, right, that we have. And it really does mean we have to break that habit. And so, again, a really big one for a lot of us was like in my diet phase, I can't eat this, I can only eat that, I can't eat that, I can't eat that. And then what happens next is the binge phase comes out and you're like, I can eat anything that was forbidden, I'm going to eat it and I'm going to eat a lot of it, right? And so the thing is that we have to develop a different relationship, which means changing that pattern. So it's not diet binge, or it's not ice cream, chocolate, or whatever it may be. It's, finding things that make you feel amazing, make you feel good. And that's the biggest thing. But that comes back to here, right? I mean, who's had just an absolutely amazingly healthy food that has felt fantastic, has been amazing, and then you forget and you go and eat a chocolate bar the next time you're hungry, right? And that's the pattern in your head. A big one we see a lot of is after lunch or dinner, I need to have dessert, right? That is something that was ingrained in us from kids. It's like, I feel like something sweet. Do you really? Or is that just part of it? It's like saying noontime is lunchtime. It's because it's ingrained in us that cake is at your birthday party. That has happened over and over and over and over again so many times that the pattern is it's noon, it's time to eat. It's 3 o'clock, it's time to grab my coffee and my chocolate bar. It's, after dinner, I need my snack, I need my sweet snack because I need dessert.
I used to constantly say that I had a dessert stomach. It didn't matter how full I was from dinner. I always had room for dessert because you had to finish the meal with dessert. Well, again, that's just something that had to change. I mean, surgery helped it because I didn't have the physical capacity. They removed my dessert stomach. So it did help to reset that pattern. But now I don't have that anymore because I reset the pattern, again, not by choice necessarily. There just wasn't space. So it did help in that. Another one that I was going to mention is the person that stops at the fast food place every day on the way home. That, you know, you're on your way home from work every day, and you know there's whatever. I'm trying to think of Dunkin' Donuts on the way home, and every day you just autopilot in there. Or on the way to work, you stop at the Starbucks drive-thru every day, and you just always have. Well, one of the ways that you could break that behavior is take a different route. Don't drive by it anymore. And it's not, and I mean, or stay at home in quarantine for 2 months. I mean, that'll help too. So, but the longer you can go without that pattern, but even if you've been at home for 2 months and you haven't done, say, your Starbucks for 2 months, the first day that you drive past it, I guarantee you autopilot right back in there. So take a different route, go a different way that you're not driving past there, break the habit. So much of what we do is habitual, and we don't even realize we're doing it. And then we do it, and afterwards we feel awful about it. And then there's this whole cycle of guilt and shame, and then we often get back into the eating and emotions and blah, 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 blah. So if you can stop and try to break those little patterns, so find your way of breaking them. Like I said, either changing up the way that you talk to yourself is really important. Taking a pause is really important. And then changing the behaviors that lead up to. If you can think of, I'm trying to think of a better example, but does anybody have on their car those like windows that automatically roll up? Like you press the button a little bit and then it continues to roll up the rest of the way. So this is my example of this, but if you press the button a little bit, it's just going to roll the rest of the way up. So if you do part of the work to get yourself, or part of the bad work to get yourself to needing that ice cream, that you have the stress, you have the thoughts, you do the whole thing, you go to the fridge, you get the bowl, you get the spoon, you put on your comfy clothes, like whatever it is, the ritual of you getting to the ice cream, if you stop the ritual before you get to one of those parts, then you're taking the romance out of it, you're getting rid of it, and you're stopping the behavior before the window goes all the way up. You're pressing that pause button and you're like, wait a minute. Instead of doing this, I'm going to listen to this song. I'm going to jump in the group and I'm going to post something. I'm going to do 25 burpees. I'm going to, find something else that you do to take your mind out of it and to stop the ritual before you keep going.
Yeah, and on that note, I'm just bringing Christine's comment back up, and she said quarantine's making her eating structure very difficult, and that is absolutely true. We've seen a lot of that, right? I know a lot of people who would structure their eating around, the time they had clients, or the times that they had break at work, or whatever it was, and that is something that we've seen. But that is also a break in the pattern that allows you to now, instead of making some of the not so great choices you might have been making at work, you can actually do some things at home where it is, walk around or do this or listen to music or go have a shower or whatever it is to do it. The good thing is, the positive thing about this all, guys, is that we're adults and we get to create our own associations. We get to decide these things, right? I've been talking to a lot of people recently about, their parents and how their parents created this, environment for them, whether it made them feel shitty because they all, they were overweight, or whether they, were constantly on a diet, or, we're talking about all of these things. Like, our parents have a part in this for sure, whether they mean to or not, they did. But that's the thing. We're now adults, and you may have your own children you have to try to work with in terms of breaking some of these patterns. But as an adult, you get to make those choices. And the hard part is now, okay, I get to make these choices. Great, Lindsay, Christina, you're amazing. I need to break my pattern. Okay, excellent, that's fantastic. And it still comes down to well, how do I do that? And that's the unfortunate part, where we can't turn around and say, this is how it's going to work for you. But here are 5 or 6 different ways that it has worked for our clients. It has worked for people that have come, and come into our programs. But one of the big things that we know is showing up, right? Staying plugged in and being a part. And so we've seen, when people come to our online classes, for example, they book their appointment. They get an email, I guess, or a text message that says your appointment starts in an hour. They get their shoes on. They might be grumbling the whole time. Let's be honest. So are we as instructors. We're like, now we got to do this. But as soon as the camera opens on and you're there and you're ready, you're going to give it the best you can at that moment, right? It might not be 100%, but you're still there. You've shown up. You've done it. What we have found is There's 23 and a half other hours in a day. For most of us, that's where things go horribly wrong. So we've actually started to add some more accountability and coaching and showing up into our program so that people can be like, well, wait a second, I never meal prep. I hate meal prep, right? Hands up, you guys know it. Oh, wait, we're gonna meal prep twice a week as a group together? Okay, now, did I make excuses yesterday not to show up? I sure did, not perfect. But I know.
You're doing good.
Everyone. So, but again, that's the thing. Now I'm like, okay, I have to now be prepared for Wednesday because I need to be there. Tonight, we're having our very first group coaching accountability nutrition call. So I think we have something like 18 of our members actually joining and being a part of this. And again, it's going to be a little bit of information, of course, because we always want to be teaching, but it's going to be a lot of like, oh my gosh, Christina, I can't seem to do this. I do this. What do you suggest and how does it work? So it's going to be there. So now we've actually added 4 extra hours of accountability and support because we know that the nutrition is the hardest part, right? They don't say 85% for no reason, guys. And this is the thing. I work out like crazy. That is my stress release. That is my thing. But without the food, I'm not going to be able to see the results that I want. And that's where we see people struggle. The exercise, the show up, I do my stuff. Nobody can take away my workout from me ever because I've done it. But what happens for the other 23 and a half hours, right? What happens? And that's the hard part. And that's where we're trying to find the balance and breaking those habits.
It really is. Now, I just want to go back to Christine's comment as well, that quarantine has made eating structure difficult. Find pieces to structure yourself. So I've worked from home for a really long time. I actually haven't worked out of the house since I was like 21. So I've worked from home and been self-employed for a really long time. So one of the things that I've always been mindful of is I eat my meals at my kitchen table or at my island. Like I eat my meals seated in my kitchen. If I'm eating, that is something, my snacks not always so great about, but my meals, I'm very, very mindful of that. There's a whole thing on mindful eating, which we actually do talk about, and we will be touching a little bit on that in our nutrition coaching calls. But mindful eating is a huge thing. And so being aware of what you're doing and, sitting with your feet planted firmly on the floor, really relaxing, not watching TV, not being on your phone or your device, not being distracted while you're eating, chewing thoroughly, putting your fork down between bites, really focusing on that mindful eating will really, really help you to get control of your eating back. It's also making yourself a rule that you can eat anything you want if you sit at your kitchen table and eat it. And you're just less likely to make the bad decisions because you have to physically think about putting your food on a plate. You guys have noticed that I've been posting pictures lately of my food looking prettier. It's been something that I've been working on because it's like I find that I feel more satisfied at the end of my meal if it's aesthetically pleasing, if it looks pretty. It's silly, but I definitely do feel better about it. I feel better about the choices that I'm making. I feel better at the end of my meal. So there's just all these different things that I find to be really helpful. Again, I'm a rule follower. So if I make myself some rules, then I tend to follow them. But that's just something that works really, really well is if you sit at your kitchen table, you set aside time. I know you're busy. I know you're working from home. I know your job is like, come on, be a slave. Just sit at your computer all day. No, you deserve a lunch break. You deserve to eat dinner properly. You deserve to have breakfast properly. These are things that are really important. And honestly, you need to do them for yourself. So set aside that time, set a timer, whatever it is, give yourself the proper time to eat and distraction free. So that will be one thing that you can do in this whole quarantine life. Lindsay talked in our virtual retreat a couple of weeks ago about anchors and finding little anchors. And that's something you can do is having your lunchtime be an anchor for you in your day, that it's like, maybe my snacks weren't perfect, but I can make sure that my meals are better. And then again, I've said it in every single coffee chat we've done, pack your lunch still. Go ahead the morning of or the night before or whenever you would usually pack your lunch to go to work, continue to pack your lunch. Why have you stopped? There's so many of you that are like, oh, I used to pack a lunch. I used to be so great at it. Why did you stop? Just because you're not leaving the house, you still need to eat. So go ahead and pack that lunch still. You're just more likely to make the good decisions when you plan them in advance than when you're at the spur of the moment and you're hungry or hangry. As our members have told us, that you're just more likely to make the good decision when you pre-plan it rather than in the moment.
Yeah, and just remember too, like these are very practical strategies to get through these things. And this is, definitely how we want to work on, well, how do I do this? What do I do that? How do I do that? But ultimately, it comes back to the very first question we asked you at the beginning of this coffee chat is, what is your relationship with your food? And ask yourself and be bloody honest. Like, don't be like, oh, I'm amazing, yet I gained 15 pounds in quarantine. Well, I don't think that you can say you're amazing. I've gained weight. I am not amazing because I don't have that great, relationship with it. So I want you just to be really, really honest with yourself, and then focus and start breaking some of those things down. If you're not sure how to do that, that's where we come in, right? We always say these coffee chats are information. We love being able to provide you with them. If you want more, that's where our programs come into play. That's where our one-on-one stuff comes into play, because we can't teach you more in a half an hour coffee chat. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. But personalize, get it done.
We do have tonight. So if you're like, you know what, I need more of this, tonight is our first group nutrition coaching and accountability session. So you can literally get in on it today. Your first month of our program is only $21 for the entire first month. So if you're not in your bariatric transformation program, send Lindsay or I a message right now, and we can get you into that nutrition and coaching and accountability chat tonight. Tonight, we're focusing on, drum roll, nutrition basics. We're actually focusing on metabolism tonight. I'm going to do about 15 minutes of training on metabolism basics. We're not going super deep and crazy or anything like that. It's stuff you can do right now. Like Lindsay said, we try to make our stuff practical and things that you can implement today. It's not like, oh, well, that's great, but I'm going to need to go buy all of these things and do all of this stuff. No, it's stuff that literally you can start doing. Like our call tonight is at 5:15 my time, I think. You could start it at 5:20. You could start making these changes like right away. That's what we want to be able to do, so that it's stuff that you can implement immediately.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to what we were saying, guys, that you don't have to do this alone. We know for a fact, Santa, I don't know, are you on that? Have you booked it? That's the question.
I'm looking right now, Santa. I will tell you.
You don't have to do this alone. And if you have been struggling, whether it's been quarantine or not, whether it's been before quarantine and you were struggling, and whether it's been for long, short, right, that relationship, whatever it is for you that is really your big struggle, you don't have to do it alone. And I can tell you right now, we have seen it over, whether it's in our virtual retreats, whether it's in our programs, people are very similar to you. They struggle with similar things, right? So don't think you're by yourself on this. I posted a few days ago about, obligers get ready. We've got something for you, because I am a 100% obliger. I need external accountability. I can't do it on my own, right? Where Christina, as an upholder, she can. But there are people who are upholders, the people that are obligers, the questioners, the rebels, the people that are in our groups are all of them. And so we work with how to work within every type of personality. So we're here for you. That's the whole thing. Remember all of our coffee chats will be turned into an email on Thursday and a blog post on Saturdays, that you guys will get one from each of our perspectives on this. We usually go a little bit deeper in both, just so you can kind of look at it. So if you enjoyed this, definitely tune into the email and the blog as well. Anything to add? Finish up, final up?
No, I added Santa to tonight. She was not registered, but I did sign her up. If anybody else, if you have any other questions, let us know. And really try to focus this week on your relationship with food. Whether you join the accountability call tonight or not, really try to just think about your relationship with food. That when you go to eat your next snack or meal, think about, am I feeling good about eating this right now? Or is there some work that I could do around this? What are my thoughts? And then how do those thoughts translate into feelings? And then how do those feelings translate into behaviors? So really just try to focus on that little triangle and think about it and be mindful every single time you're eating. Just even for today, try that. And see how you're feeling about it all. And if you're feeling great, then that's amazing, and we want to hear that. But if you're not, then we also want to hear that. Because you're not alone in it. As Lindsay said, it's something that she still struggles with. I struggle with the exercise side of things and feeling good about that, but I kind of have a handle on this food stuff. So if you need more support, if you need more help, feel free to reach out, look for that email and that blog, and look for us again next Monday.
Yeah, have a good one, guys. Enjoy your day. Bye.